There comes the day where we all grow up sadly. If you want to. It was the same for games. First they were 2D, then 3D. Even though they can still be 2D, just like how I prefer to be a man-child instead of being a respectable member of society. I too like to be stuck in the past. Sometimes games maybe shouldn't have made the jump, but that's like saying you should get an abortion if you know your kid is gonna come out a bit differently than the other kids. I wish my parents would have made that call, but hey, if they did, then I wouldn't be able to play video games, so I'm grateful they didn't. When you grow up, you also have to get a job, or maybe you don't. Don't feel bad if you're unemployed. You're a free spirit who does not have to slave away for 8 hours a day for a measly salary while the boss is having fun with your wife behind your back. Just play a certain game where you can pretend to work in, Paperboy 64. You can also play as a girl, so the name of the game is false advertisement, and you could have sued them for that. A game that could be described as one of those games that shouldn't have made the jump to 3D, or maybe its bad repetition is not earned. But it was the time when bad video game magazines said that 2D sucks, so if you even dare to still make a 2D game despite 3D becoming popular, you automatically got less points, and less points means less sales, and less sales means you're losing your job, the house, the wife and the kids, and maybe even the dog or the cat. You may have seen the original Paperboy game before, and if you didn't, then well, the name fits the game perfectly. You are the paper delivery boy and have to deliver the papers. For many people it may have been their first real job. We are lucky we didn't have to work in mines except for Minecraft. Even though some people were able to turn Minecraft into their job too, maybe because they love miners a bit too much. So after doing the tutorial, which was kinda confusing because it only spends like 10% of it on the important part, throwing the papers, the other 90% are for teaching you how to do tricks that you never have to use unless you want to be cool. And who doesn't want to be cool? I started the game on the easy mode at first since I didn't know what's different from the other difficulties and wanted to get used to the game just to be hit by being on rails. You really don't want your bike to be on the tracks. Don't do that to the poor train drivers. For whatever godforsaken reason, the game won't allow you total control of your character in easy mode and actually makes one level harder than any other difficulty. When you miss one of these houses, there's not really enough time to get back to them, regardless of how much willpower you try to use to go back. The game will keep you on its rails and won't allow you to turn around. Imagine if something like this happened in real life to you, that would be scary as hell. You try to walk into another direction, but you can't. Your body moves all by itself even if you don't want to go there. I guess it's like sleep paralysis, but the other way around. I luckily never had any of those, and I hope the same goes for you too. Even though I have heard if you train yourself you can kinda see nice things instead of scary things, so I wouldn't mind those. But playing it on the other difficulties I had fun. Yeah, I know there's something wrong with me. It's one of those games where you can say it looks like trash mostly, the music is nothing special, and the controls are janky beyond belief, but somehow you still have fun with it. I did not want to stop playing it till I beat it, and when I beat it I was like, well, why do people call this one of the worst games ever? There's something so satisfying about hitting a perfect throw into someone's tent or onto their porch or mailbox. It felt like the game tried to make me addicted to it, and I'm normally not a person that easily gets addicted except to Pepsi Max and the internet. And now also Paperboy 64. I even thought about starting to speedrun the game when playing it, planning out the fastest route to deliver all the coolest magazines to your customers and trying not to miss a single throw. Somehow the game just got its hands on me, and I normally do not like getting touched. That's why I haven't felt the touch of another human in over 40 years. Also, you may call the game ugly, but I love the art style. It reminds me of the Money for Nothing video by Dire Straits. Great song. Back in the day that probably looked amazing to people, then it got older and older and looked like dog shit since technology became better and better, and now it has that cool retro CGI flair, just like the game. I'm not saying it looks amazing, but it charmed me, most because it has so many different locations. And it has bikini babes, like look at them, like damn that's hot. I would rather have subpar graphics that allow developers to create tons of levels than only a few levels that look amazing. The only technical aspect I really hate is the low draw distance, but it's a Nintendo 64 game after all. They never really had much of that, even though I like seeing into the distance, especially when climbing a mountain. After playing the game for a while, it can get a bit one-noted. You know, when you play the piano, but only know how to play a single note. That's what the game is too, because you learn nothing new over the course of the game. Which is fine. I like it when you got the whole arsenal right at the start of the game without having to unlock a skill tree. It's an arcade game and those work best when you're allowed to play the whole game one way to really get great at it to beat the high scores. It's up to your own skill to get better, not the game giving you more tools to hide your skill issue. Before every level you get to see a headline out of the newspaper. There's tons of them and some are a bit messed up. Imagine you start your new job and you got a whole article about yourself because this town will try to murder you. I would quit on the spot, unless they pay me really well. They also give you a few tips on where some of the medals can be found that you can get by shooting papers at different things. Just shoot anything you see, except for when you run out of newspapers, but you can find new bundles of them all around, except for in the later stages where the spots become more rare and you can actually struggle to find more, just like how magazines nowadays are kinda died out, sadly. There's tons of levels and they all have their own look to them, but also here it's mostly just a fresh coat of paint. Instead of a dog chasing you, it's a bear, or a moose, or a garden gnome. Some levels have more statues trying to murder you, some have big cement cars trying to block your path, but overall they stay the same too. The game never really throws a super duper big gimmick at you. I like that, but in a way I sometimes wish there would have been some levels that would have changed the game more. Like in the zoo level, it may have been fun to have to throw some paper at the lion and he breaks out and unlocks a new part of the level. Even just something like that could have spiced it up. But the way it is, it's maybe a bit too simple. They try to throw some spice in there with boss battles. Sometimes spices make your food worse though. There's Frankenstein. Yes, I know it's actually Frankenstein's monster, but it's cooler if he would be Frankenstein himself, right? He will never be able to hit you. You are more likely to run into Dr. Tesla instead of into his monster, and all you have to do is to destroy the zippy zappy machine things. It's a lame boss battle, but luckily at least it's over fast. Unlike the King Gorilla, who sucks to fight against. But at least you can flirt with the woman he kidnaps for a second or two.
Hey, what's up? Hoo-hoo.
You have to make him hit the barrels since they go kaboom, and trying to push them into his enclosure is not fun. Just like work, unless you like your work, so I hope you do like your work and have a cool boss. Maybe you are even your own boss, please hire me. The fight is probably way easier if you do it the intended way by turning into an ugly monster so it's easier to push the barrels, but I don't want to be ugly, so I didn't use it. And the less I say about the final boss alien, the better. Or else my blood pressure will go up too high and I will say things I shouldn't say. Like how I would love to date an alien. Not this alien though. Or the ones in Omega City. The people here build their houses in such a way that it's really hard to hit their mailboxes and doors. Because yeah, let's put some bushes right in front of my house, or fences. Maybe American suburbs really are hell. They're kinda scary when you look at them. Everything looks the same, and you can't reach anything unless you own a car. And I can't drive a car. They took away my license after I may have done some bad things. I actually never got a driving license. The controls are not super duper bad, but you won't truly feel like you're in total control of it. I mean, just look at my gameplay, it's not the best but also not the worst, but you can probably guess how it plays from that. But in a weird way, it kinda fits the game. It reminds me of older cartoons where the main characters ride a bike but in a total zigzag style, and this is like a game that plays the way it looks. Now you could say I'm looking too deep into it, and maybe I am. They just kinda add to the charm, you know? I won't defend how clunky it can play though, especially in the later stages when things get super crazy. One thing I would recommend when playing it on an emulator is changing the controls. I'm not sure about you, but I map the C buttons onto the right analog stick when emulating most Nintendo 64 games. Often that works perfectly fine, but here to jump you have to press the down C button, and the game stops your momentum if you let go of the A button, so you just stand still and jump in place. Try pressing the right analog stick down while also pressing the A button and it can't be done really. So for this game put the down C button onto a button that's right next to the A button so you can press both at the same time. I'm gonna start a petition for Nintendo to add this game to its Nintendo Switch Online thingy so more people can give this game another shot maybe. Sure, emulating is easy as pie nowadays, but maybe if Nintendo saw an unusual large amount of people playing this, they would maybe try to make another one made. This time with better controls, more things to do and a bunch of guest characters like Nia. Not like that would ever happen, but isn't it nice to have dreams? There's even cute little cheat codes that really put you back in time, like being able to activate moon gravity, making your character smaller, or making the sound effects even more cartoony. I miss these kind of cheat codes. It's not the worst game ever made, and if I would rate games on a scale from 1 to 10, it would get a solid 5 or 6. That may sound bad, but I would use the full scale, not the video game reviewer scale where everything under an 8 is pretty damn bad. I feel this game got hit by the typical YouTuber bait of people saying it's the worst game ever, so they played the game with the mindset of wanting to hate it and shit on it already from the start, so it never stood a chance. It's really not that bad, and it makes you feel like you're actually working. It's always a great feeling to get surprised by a video game in a positive way, or maybe if you actually end up playing this somehow, you would be surprised by how bad it is. We are all different after all. I am German and like to eat warm meat, so maybe my opinion does not matter about any matter in life. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good day, a good night, or whatever fits your time zone. And now I will go on to a bike trip. So I don't know where, but I don't know when I will come back either. So no more uploads for the future, near future. Just kidding. Or am I? Bye bye.